All right, welcome back, everyone. Before we start this episode, I wanted to make you aware of two opportunities to hang with me, one at the very end of July and one in the first week of August. So the first one is July the 30th. It's going to be a live in-person event in Medford, New Jersey at 7 p.m. And it is the 5 Paths to Discovering Your Dharma workshop. So if you've been following along for a while, you probably heard me talk about this before. We did a virtual event, the same workshop, but we did it virtually. And it was amazing. It was so much fun. The women were great. They really just had so much fun together. They were laughing and nodding their heads vigorously and understanding each other's um, journeys and how similar they were in so many different ways. But they also were it was so fascinating because they took such different things away from the workshop. What really stood out to one person was so much different from another person and another person. So it was just really cool to see how the same content landed with different people and people who are pretty similar. And it was a very, very cool experience. So I want to repeat it, but I wanted to do it live and in person this time because I just think there's something special about in-person events and the energy that tends to arise from things like that when you take a bunch of like-minded people on the same journey coming together to grow and expand and support one another. It's a very special experience. So it will be, like I said, July the 30th at 7 p.m. in Medford, New Jersey at Studio 67. If you want to sign up and come, just send me an email at katie@momoftheverge.org. I'll put that in the show notes, and I will get you all signed up. It is a $40 investment for the evening. We'll be giving you the 5 Paths to Discovering Your Dharma workbook that you can take home with you. And I just think it's going to be so much fun. So please sign up for that. I would love to see you there. I would love to meet you in person if you've been a listener for a while. And if you are new to the show and you're not sure what I'm talking about when I say Dharma, I will link episodes below where I talk about Dharma, so you can get a better understanding of what that is. But it's basically your soul's purpose. So it's, what you're meant to do here in this life, in this body, and how you're meant to express yourself and your true essence in the world, and how that is meant to serve others as well. So it serves you by lighting you up with joy and passion and purpose and meaning and resilience to life's problems. But it also changes your whole perspective on life. So then that impacts your family and your friends and your neighborhood and your community, and potentially the world, because these things ripple out in really ways that are almost impossible for us to truly and fully comprehend. So that is the very basics of what Dharma is. But like I said, I will link some episodes below where I go more deeply into the topic of Dharma, so you can take a listen to that. So that's the first opportunity. The second one is my summit that I mentioned a while back that we would be having. That is coming up. It's August 6th, 7th, and 8th. That one is virtual. I have gathered a group of 11 women who are amazing. They have all been on the show before. This is August will be the 1-year anniversary of my podcast. And so I went back and I looked at all the most amazing conversations that I had over the past year. And I reached out to these women and I said, would you come together so that we could have more amazing conversation and we could do it together, and we can put it all together into this summit where people can just binge all of this great content. And every single person I reached out to said yes. So I'm so thrilled that they were willing to do it. And the summit is free. So there's no cost to this summit. So if you sign up, you can log on for whatever talks seem to resonate with you the most. And if you can't make it because you work or it's summer and you're busy with your kids or whatever the case may be, I'm going to record each one of these episodes, and there will be a web site, a web page that you can go to listen to these episodes if you miss them. So there is a sign up page that I will link in the show notes, but it's momontheverge.org/summit. So you can just go to that and sign up, or you can go to the link in the show notes and sign up, or you can always email me and I can get you signed up as well. And I will send out a list of the speakers and the topics shortly to my email list. So if you're on my email list, you'll be getting that. You'll be getting everything we're going to be talking about in the summit, and also the beautiful women who are coming to do this and giving their time for free. Also wanted the listeners, the people who signed up for the summit, to be able to really integrate what they are teaching about in their talks into their lives. So they have each provided a free gift that will help you to do that. And there are meditations, there are journals, there are breathwork exercises, there are so many different free things that they're giving out, so that the topic that they are teaching on, you can really chew on it, expand on it, come back to it, and really integrate it into your life if that topic resonates with you. So we're going to be talking about forgiveness. We're going to be talking about how life breaks us, but that actually makes us really beautiful. We're going to be talking about Dharma, of course. We're going to be talking about 1% shifts, how when we want to change anything in our life, whether it be an eating habit or exercise habit, or growing spiritually, or being more patient with our kids, whatever it is we want to change in our lives, we have to do it on a slow and steady pace. And we're going to learn how to do that with those 1% shifts. There's so much. We're going to talk about forgiveness and that role that forgiveness plays in our lives, and how important it is for us to forgive in order to live the life that we really want to and feel the way we want to in our lives. I mean, it's fantastic. I am so excited that I get to be present for every single one of these talks and to spend time with these amazing women in their energy. So sign up for the summit. It is free. You have access to the free content that they are going to offer, and the video recordings if you can't make it. Okay. But I would love to see your beautiful faces there. All right. So on to this week's topic. We have not done one of the yamas and niyamas in a while. So we're bringing it back. We're going for the third yama. And if you haven't listened to my other episodes on the yamas and niyamas, I'm going to link those in the show notes as well. There's episode 17 was on Santosha, which means contentment in Sanskrit. And episode 37 was on Ahisma, which is nonviolence in Sanskrit. And we are doing Asteya, which is, I'm sorry, truthfulness, or non-stealing. So basically, as a refresher, if you haven't listened to those episodes where I give a little bit more detail as to what the yamas and niyamas are, I'm going to give you just a little detail on that. And then if you want more, you can go back and listen to those episodes. But basically, the yamas and niyamas are the 10 ethical guidelines of yoga philosophy. The first 5 are the yamas, which translates into restraints, and the second ones are the second 5 are the niyamas, which translates into observances. And if you're anything like me, and I grew up in a religious tradition that was pretty restrictive, and didn't feel right for me, didn't feel good for me. When I first heard that the yamas were considered the restraints, I immediately felt like I recoiled from that a little bit. Like I pulled back, like, what do you mean you want to restrain me? Like, what does this, what are you trying to do? And I was hesitant, I guess I should say, to really adopt these principles. But what I've come to realize is that they actually really, first of all, they're just an invitation. Okay. So the yamas and niyamas are not rules or guidelines that if you don't follow them, um, something bad is going to happen to you, or you were a bad person, or, you're going somewhere bad after you die, or anything like that. They are basically guidelines that ancient philosophers and yogis and seers developed to help people to live a better life. And these are things that have been being talked about in all the ancient texts, in the Vedas, in the Upanishads, in the Bhagavad Gita, and they were considered to be so important that even Gandhi took this particular principle of Asteya as one of his 11 vows. So these yamas and niyamas have been in the vernacular for thousands of years. They have been used by, very wise people throughout lifetimes trying to help other people to live lives that feel better, that feel freer, that feel more like they're more fun and they're smoother, where their relationships are better. And that's what these guidelines are helping us to do. So, Asteya, which is non-stealing, is the third yama in the yamas and niyamas. And when we talk about stealing, we're not talking about going into a store and, swiping something and putting it in your pocket and not paying for it. I think we all kind of know that that is not the right thing to do. Um, what we're talking about is a much deeper and more philosophical version of stealing. And basically, when we steal something, when we steal anything, even if it is a material item, we're stealing it because we are feeling a sense of lack within ourselves, right? We're not feeling connected to ourselves. We're not feeling whole. We're feeling less than. We're feeling like we need something to complete us or fill us up or make us as good as somebody else. And so all stealing, the root of stealing comes from that sense of lack and that suffering that goes along with that sense of lack and our desire to ease that suffering and our false thought that that suffering will be eased in this process of stealing. So where does stealing show up other than stealing an actual material item? Well, hoarding possessions is considered a form of stealing. So most of my listeners, actually, I have listeners all over the world, but I would say the majority of my listeners are in the United States. I know here in the United States, we are a consumer culture and we have a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff. And I am not excluding myself from that situation. We tend to take more than we actually need. We tend to take more than we use. We take more than what brings us joy. And we wind up actually often being owned by our possessions instead of our possessions owning us. We wind up having so much stuff that we have nowhere to put it, or we are constantly reorganizing it and trying to find better ways of storing it and keeping it, or we're complaining that our house is a mess all the time because stuff is all over the place. It's a problem. Stuff is a problem, and having too much of it is a problem because there's nothing wrong with owning things. There's nothing wrong with purchasing things that truly do bring you joy, to use them and enjoy them and make them a part of your life. But when that tips over into taking so much more than what we could ever need or use or bring us enjoyment, we have we've tipped over into stealing into Steya. Asteya is not non-stealing, Steya is stealing. Because there are plenty of people in the world who don't have what we have, and they really truly could use these things that would bring them peace, joy, and suffering. But yet we are hoarding them. We are holding on to these things, and so it actually is a form of stealing by holding these things within our possession that other people really could need and or other people really do need and could use. So if I want you to just think about your house for a moment, like I think about the amount of toys my kids had, especially when they were little, or the amount of electronics that we tend to accumulate over time, iPads and computers and phones and game consoles and all kinds of gadget stuff like that, or clothes. So, how many is your closet overfilled or your drawers overfilled? Shoes, like all of these things that we buy because we see them and they're cute and we like them, and then but all of a sudden we just have this piles and piles of stuff. So take a moment to just think about that and think about maybe who else could possibly use the things that you're not even using in your house because you have so much you couldn't possibly use it all. And think about how good it feels to clean out. I'm sure most people listening to this, if not all, have cleaned out a closet or a drawer or a toy room or a desk. And afterwards, it felt like, ah, that felt so good. Like I feel so much better now that that's all cleaned out and organized. Because what happens is when we let go of the hoarding, when we let go of the possessions that really we don't need and are bringing us joy, we create space. We create space in our homes, we create space in our mind, we create space in our bodies. And that space then allows us to feel actually physically lighter. And it creates this opportunity for new things to come in. And I don't mean material things, but new experiences, growth, deeper levels of contentment, and the ability to recognize that those things were not actually filling us up. They were doing the opposite. They were taking away from us. And that truly when we simplify and we only use and take what we need, we actually feel much more connected to ourselves and to a greater power and to life in general. So that's a form of stealing. So keep in mind, just keep it in mind. These things that we talk about in every one of our episodes, but particularly when I'm talking about yoga philosophy, are invitations for awareness and for contemplation and for the ability to potentially integrate this into your life if you feel it resonates with you. And so this is not a guilt trip. This is not you're so wrong because you have all this stuff in your house and how could you do that? There's no guilt, there's no blame, there's no shame. There is simply an awareness, a contemplation, and then a decision as to how you want to move forward. So taking that opportunity to do that is a great opportunity for you and everyone else in your home. When you bring these things back to other people in your house, and they can really think about it too, and maybe change the trajectory of what they're doing when they see what you're doing. So anyway, I offer that up to you. Okay, so our next one, stealing peace from others. And Asteya can be I'm going to offer you some examples, but it can show up in so many ways. And like I said in the beginning, it's about not being in lack, feeling like you are not abundant, like you are not enough, like you are not worthy, and trying to do something to fill that hole and feel that you are enough, that you are abundant, that you are worthy, that you are as good as anyone else. And these are the ways that we try to do that we wind up stealing from others instead of coming back home to ourselves and learning to create that beautiful connection with ourselves and understand that we are enough just as we are. Okay, so stealing peace from others. So we all know we live in this current climate of social media, of constant access to what other people are doing in their lives. Everyday people, famous people, people all over the world. We are bombarded with images of other people and their lives and what they're doing in their lives. And this is something we've talked about in the past. It can really lead to a wicked case of what I call comparisonitis, where we start comparing ourselves, our families, our lives to other people. And when we do that, we're actually stealing from others because we can't, and it almost sounds like we're stealing from ourselves, but we're also stealing from others. So we're stealing from ourselves because we're stealing our joy and we're stealing our peace and we're stealing our ability to really be embodied and be connected to ourselves. But when we steal that from ourselves, we also steal from others, because when we try to measure up to a false ideal of someone else, right? We want somebody else's partner, or we want their job, or we want their success, or we want their talent, or we want their body, or we want their home, or whatever it is that we feel is better than ours, and we're viewing ourselves in lack because we see these other people who have these other things that we think we need in order to feel fulfilled, we are not then allowing ourselves to fully step into our own gifts and talents and abilities and our own most expanded version of ourselves. This also relates to Dharma, right? So Dharma is doing that, right? It's leaning into the skills and the talents and the gifts and the passions and the ideas and the creative flow that are inside of you, because that's truly what's meant to come out. That is what's going to make you feel whole and abundant and fulfilled and as good as anyone else, right? When you step into those things that were meant for you, then you start feeling connected to yourself and you feel in flow and you feel like, ah, I can release a deep breath. I don't have to keep chasing something outside of me. I don't have to try to keep up with other people and what they're doing and how they are. I am at peace within myself because I know that I am expanding into the best version of myself and who I was meant to be and who I was designed to be. So we steal our own peace by comparing ourselves, and then we steal our ability to step into the fullest version of ourselves. And then we steal from others because now the world, who so needs our particular skills, talents, passions, you know, ideas, ways of working, they're not getting it because we haven't stepped into it. So they cannot receive what we cannot give. And so we're stealing from the world when we do this. So trying to shift our focus and shift it away from what other people are doing and what other people have, and bringing it back to ourselves and to what we have to give and to what God put inside of us, God, the divine universe, whatever you want to call it, put inside of us to do. It connects us to ourselves and it gives to the world. And that is a beautiful thing. And it's where true life satisfaction comes from. It's leaning into all the edges of who we are with all the challenges that we've been given, and accepting those challenges and using them as opportunities to grow. Because challenges in life, that's what they are. They are invitations to your soul. They're soul invitations to grow. And if you accept that challenge and you lean in and you become the best version of yourself, you will feel fulfilled. You will feel, and it's not always easy. I would never say that these things are easy, but they are worth it. They are absolutely worth it. Okay. Another way that we steal from others is by the things that we say or don't say. So let's say you are with somebody else and you're feeling like you're not measuring up. You're feeling like, wow, they have such a better job than me, or they have more education than me, they're smarter than me, their kids are more well behaved than mine, their house is prettier than mine, whatever it is that you may be thinking or feeling. And in order to fill the lack that you're feeling inside of yourself, you try to control somebody else or manipulate them. Maybe you try to one up them in a conversation where they're talking about going on a vacation and you're talking about your better vacation, or that you already went to the place that they're going to. Maybe you're talking about your kids and you're saying, oh, well, my kid's going to this college or got this award, or, is the captain of this team, because you are trying to impress somebody else with what you have in your life. These are all forms of stealing, and they usually arise from a sense of jealousy. And it never feels good afterwards. If you've ever done it, you probably know that as soon as it happens, you feel a little icky inside because you are stealing somebody else's peace once again. You're stealing their peace by not creating the energetic of compassion, love, and acceptance between you and the other person. You're discounting their experiences or invalidating them. Even when you don't give someone the attention that they deserve, when you are maybe supposed to be having a conversation, but instead you keep getting distracted by your phone and you keep looking down and texting and saying, hold on. And, this is making somebody else feel less than. This is making them feel that they aren't worthy of your time, your attention, your care and compassion. And that is stealing. It's stealing from them. And it's also stealing from you because it doesn't make you feel good either. So these are all examples of Asteya and how it shows up in our lives. And what we do about it is first to just become aware, right? Everything begins with awareness. We always say this. The very first step in any change that you might want to make in your life is to become aware that you actually want to make the change, that something is happening, that you would prefer it to be different, and that you would like to make changes in your life to live better and to feel better and to step in to this elevated version of yourself, right? So just become aware, just start paying attention. Is this happening? Am I finding myself feeling in lack, feeling not good enough? What's triggering it? What's making me feel that way? When I compare myself to others, is that when it's happening? Or is there something kind of a limiting belief that is inside of me that is making me constantly feel less than and not good enough? And really examine it when it shows up. And sometimes it's going to show up and then you won't recognize it until after it happens, which is fine. Something happens, maybe you make a snide comment to someone, or you one up them, or you find yourself scrolling on social media and feeling that there's pangs of jealousy and not enoughness. Great. These are all, I love it every time something like this happens, because it's the opportunity to stop, take a breath, become aware of what's going on, and then think about how you want to move forward from that point. So that's my invitation for you this week. I have several other things that I will place in the newsletter, where I will be diving into this topic. So you will get the newsletter if you're signed up. If you're not, go to my website, momontheverge.org. You can sign up for the newsletter there. But I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the topic in the newsletter, and I'm also going to provide some other exercises for you to practice to see how Asteya is showing up in your life, if it is, and how you can move towards a life with more ease and joy and freedom by practicing non-stealing. So sign up if you haven't been on there. Otherwise, I hope this was helpful to everyone. I would love to hear what you think about this concept. As always, I love to know how these different yoga philosophies are landing with everyone, and if they make sense, and if you feel like you recognize some of these things in your lives, and if you feel like you can change them on your own, that this is something that is attainable or achievable for you. So I would love to hear all of that. You can always email me at katie@momontheverge.org. You can go over to Instagram. That's where I mostly hang out, Katie Mom and Yogi, and send me a message. Sign up for the summit. Like I said, I will put it in the show notes, but katie@momontheverge.org/summit. And also July the 30th, I would love to see you there. Just email me and I will get you signed up for the 5 Paths to Discovering Your Dharma workshop. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Hi, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode or any of our other episodes, I ask that you please like the show, follow, subscribe, or share. The way that podcasts work is the more people that do one of those things, the more likely it is that when someone's looking for a podcast to listen to, our show will pop up for them. I started this podcast
because I really see there's a great need in our world for people to feel more peace, joy, love, and acceptance in their lives. And I think we can do that when we have a greater sense of self-awareness. We could become conscious creators of our own lives. And I'm seeking to do that for as many people as possible. So if you could help me by liking, sharing, or subscribing to the show, I'd really appreciate it. And hopefully someone hears a conversation that changes their life. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time. Much love.